Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Let's Talk with Marquard Pinar. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This guy, he is the
Yes,
head,
that's close.
close enough. He is the leader of South African Federal Party, or Federal Party of South Africa, a somewhat new party that has emerged, and it's a very interesting take and interesting views on their side. And that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to meet the party, ladies and gentlemen. So please, if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section or in the live chats, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. Margaret Pinard, just say a little bit about yourself, what you do, and yeah, brief synopsis of what your party's about. Go ahead.
Uh, I I'm listening to two streams at the moment. I must just mute the
The YouTube
YouTube,
one, yeah.
and I must find that I don't see the mic on YouTube.
It's usually at the bottom where the time code is in that
Okay,
bar.
never mind. I closed YouTube.
Okay, good.
I'll just look at Skype.
All right.
Um, well, okay, my name is Marquard Pinar. I started Federal Party of South Africa in 2018. I started working on it. It was registered January 2019, but the party wasn't in the elections during last year because of funding. There weren't enough funding. The registered name of the party is Divided Party, but the name will change. I want to include the name's Federal Party.
Yeah.
A little bit something about myself. I'm 51 years old. I worked previously in financial management and entrepreneurship, and the last 10 years I was an academic. But I realized that everywhere there isn't really a place for honest people anymore working in any sector in South Africa, because most places expect dishonest work, and that is why I started the Divided Party. One of the reasons. That's one of the main reasons, because it's not possible to work honestly anymore in South Africa.
And okay, so you started it in 2019. It's the Federal Party now. What are, very quickly, if someone asks you why should I vote for the Federal Party, what would you tell them?
I think the most important is to, if you think about politics in South Africa at the moment, you have the left and the right. And the left, the multicultural people, are by far the majority. The people on the right are mostly the people who want self-determination because they are minorities, like the Inkatha Freedom Party, the Freedom Front Plus, and the Muslim Party. But they will never get enough votes because they are only representing their own self-determination. So they cannot draw votes from the ANC, basically, because they only represent one group. And where Federal Party makes a difference is it represents the left and the right. So it can, Federal Party work for self-determination of the left, multicultural people in multilingual regions, and for the right in unilingual regions. So I think Federal Party can draw votes from the ANC, the DA, and maybe the EFF, because it also represents multicultural people. That's the main benefit. It can make a difference to the self-determination vote, because it also draws votes from multicultural left people.
That's very interesting. So you're trying to basically create a party that represents, like you said, everyone, whether you're left or right, and no matter what culture you're in. What do you think? I mean, that sounds like a very difficult feat to accomplish. How do you feel about that?
I think in my situation, it came very naturally because I am not really a group person. I'm not part of the left. I'm not part of the right. I don't belong to any group.
Mm,
Most of the people who are involved in politics, they belong to a group and they represent a specific group.
mm,
Um, Even it seems these days that the president as well, he represents only a certain group of South Africa.
mm,
And if you think about the right, all the people on the right, it's either Inkatha, Zulu people, Freedom Front Plus, Christian Afrikaans people, the Muslim Party, specifically Muslim people. But because of my background, um, I I am an independent person.
mm,
I think independently. Sometimes I think left, sometimes I think right.
mm,
I'm not left or right.
mm,
So I think that suits my personality well. I don't. I won't involve myself in the different groups. If people on the left join FPSA and people on the right, I will stay independent and
mm.
they must do their own thing. They must think about their own self-determination. They must represent themselves in FPSA
Mm,
the same way they would have done it if they were a separate party on their own.
mm. Would you say that it's like a centrist? You're more like a centrist, maybe, because that's also a term that's used.
Um, I I don't no, I don't think I'm a centrist. The meaning left right doesn't it, it doesn't make sense to me because um, yeah, I can't place myself left or right, middle. I really want self-determination for everybody because I think it is the best thing.
Mm,
I think it's the one thing that we all have in common. We all want self-determination. Um, when I think about politics these days, I think more about imperialism and self-determination. When I think about imperialism, it is central governance.
mm,
So most parties want a big central government,
mm,
and they, in an imperialist way, they want to control everything. So at the moment, the multicultural people, they are a majority, and they want everybody multicultural. A lot of the left people don't want to recognize the right to self-determination.
mm.
So I make a distinction in politics. I think the future of politics in South Africa will be self-determination against imperialism.
Mm. Well, that definitely kind of makes sense. I do agree with that to some extent. But before I bring on my next question, I just want to address some of the comments in the live chat. We have Pinar van Wyk who's with us. Hello, Beast Invader, good to see you. Yanni van der Walt, good to see you. Klipkop is with us. Jesse Ronderhoff and Brazos Planet Q. That's always a bit of a tongue twister for me to say. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am with, if you're just joining me now, I am with the head of Federal Party SA, Mr. Marquard Pinar. A very interesting party that he has, and like he just explained, he wants a party that is inclusive of everyone, whether you're left or right. And of course, centrist would also fall in there because centrists usually have views from both sides of the spectrum. So as inclusive as possible with all the cultures. So please, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. And Pinar asks, please explain federalism.
Okay, federalism means, in the context of Federal Party of South Africa, the maximum decentralization of governance within the limits of the Constitution.
Mm.
The decentralization is limited because of the Constitution. I believe that the Constitution have to be respected, otherwise it can cause problems. So I don't know if he means federalism in general, but I think it is in context if I explain it for the Federal Party of South Africa. So a simple definition, somebody else typed it the other day on Twitter. He said it is the maximum decentralization of governance whilst still respecting the Constitution, the limits.
And would you say that this kind of looks like maybe what we see in the United States? So you have like different states and stuff like that that kind of govern themselves.
Yes, in South Africa we are more limited than in the United States because we cannot call the regions states. I mean, a state already means, I think, more decentralization. But when I registered Federal Party with the name Divided Party, I used the word states. At that time, that was in 2018, I was thinking more like the secessionists in the Cape at the moment. I was thinking that probably what I thought was we should try and form different states. But then there was a court case, and the electoral court in Bloemfontein decided that I may not use the word states, or the party may not use the word state. So they scrapped that from the Constitution, and that's when I realized how serious the government and the court are about states. I mean, that Section 1 in the Constitution, which says very clearly that South Africa is one sovereign democratic state. That's very important to the government.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I saw an article recently about the government reacting to secession because now that's quite a hot topic on Twitter and social media. And the government being upset with the DA for still continuing with the school and saying that we're supposed to be one nation and the DA mustn't do that in the Western Cape, and they were very upset. ANC is very much about keeping everyone running the same way. And then Pinar says because they live off the state. So what do you think? I think what people are most concerned about, whether it's secession or making states out of South Africa, I think people are just concerned because we were told about this rainbow nation, this one unity, one South Africa for all. The moment you start putting a divide on some of this stuff, people kind of panic. I've seen already the Western Cape is being labeled as racist because they wanna break away, which obviously isn't the case. There's a lot of people, even though it might be a little bit small, there's a lot of people that do want to break away, and that doesn't mean that they are racist or anything like that. It just means that they're not happy with the current government, which is everyone is entitled to have their own opinion about that. So what would you say to someone who says like, yeah, breaking away or finding a federal system might be, racist?
No, I don't think it is racist at all. It's, I think, taking into consideration the realities. If you think about some of the municipalities, for example, there's a lot of friction and there's division, actually because a lot of people from different cultures are working together and they disagree more than agree. And the end result is the municipalities don't function the way they should. It's just not functioning. The work is not being done because the councillors or the people in the municipalities are fighting. So I think really there's a good case to be made to 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 separate people to cause more effective work and less friction. So my answer basically is that if you throw a lot of people together who do not really want to work together, I mean, then you cause more friction than when you separate people who are fighting. It's just I think it's a basic reality. And the other problem is the imperialism which Federal Party opposes. The imperialism means that the majority parties, they want to force their policies down onto other people. So let's say the ANC is in control in municipality, then there are people on the right who want self-determination. Now the ANC forces their imperialist central views down on the other people, and it causes unhappiness. It would work much better if there's only one culture, one could say, in a municipality. And that's the idea. It can either be a multicultural group controlling a municipality, and the people in the municipality and the local people know that those multicultural people are controlling the decisions. Or there could be rather only a unicultural group controlling a municipality, and they take the decisions according to their culture. Then you don't have the friction between the multicultural and the unicultural people who are all serving in one municipality. I don't know if I explained that.
No, it does. You explained it. I think Pinar may be saying, well, let me just see what Pinar says here. Decentralization of government is the only way to serve the disadvantaged and have interaction between community and government. What do you think about that?
Yes, I agree. Decentralization is definitely the way to go, because I look at it historically over a very long period of time. I studied philosophy, and I brought the philosophy in relation to politics. And if you look at how politics developed, a long time ago there were kingdoms.
Yes.
And they were imperialist, central governed areas. And the kings were selfish, and the aristocracy was selfish. And so central government became then a little more decentralized with democracy. And the democratic system started to oppose the kingdoms. And now we are in a stage of democratic imperialism. It's still central governments, but the next stage, I think, will be much more decentralization. And there's only a few places that apply that philosophy. Basically, Switzerland, Europe, and then I'm thinking now the most advanced countries have some kind of federal decentralization. The USA, Canada, and we are being held back, I think, to have this imperialism, central governance forced down onto us, and the imperialism is. I mean, we've been in an imperial state for 100 years, and the previous government, the pre-1994 government, they had an idea of self-determination, but unfortunately they mixed it up with segregation, which was the big problem. But I definitely think, I agree with Pinar that decentralization will be the future.
How would you? So obviously, you're the leader now of the Federal Party of South Africa. So if we vote for your party, you then become president, or are you not really aiming to be president. You just want to, spread the word of the party. And as you grow and grow and grow, will you maybe elect someone else, or do you have ambitions to be the president?
My ambitions are to arrange a self-determination country. I don't like presidents really. If I think about a presidency, um, I would like to be, if Federal Party of South Africa get into that situation, then I would be in a very small central government. Um, President, I'm not really thinking about that.
Okay.
I think I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind it, but I would prefer another name, what's another title?
Prime
Like,
Minister or something like that?
yeah, I think just head. I think head would be a would be a good title, because presidents these days, I mean, they don't have very good names, and also presidents are very imperialist in the sense that they are partisan. I don't want to be partisan. I would like to stay independent, and I think that's the best leader that a country can have, is if he is not really choose sides between groups, if he is independent.
Well, I was chatting to Jack Miller a few weeks ago, and he said that he would like to see a kind of governor, or kind of a government that has, like, I think he mentioned Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken, that has many different people who are in charge, almost like a board, so to speak, like a CEO and a board and all that stuff, and they all make decisions together. And I think South Africa might do well under that kind of leadership, where you have different individuals representing different cultures, and coming together and working together for the better of the people, and obviously listening to the people. When I mean, that's the most important part, is the people. I always like to say the people have the power. The people are the ones that vote. The people are the ones that we need to take care of. The people are, at the end of the day, determine who should be in power. So they always have the power. And I think, if I don't know, maybe is that something you can also maybe see going forward with your party?
Yes, I saw that discussion with Jack Miller, and I thought that we agree on that. He also mentioned that the president in Switzerland doesn't have any powers.
Yes.
He doesn't have. It's a committee that controls Switzerland, takes federal decisions, and yes, I definitely see it like that. I think a central government should do as little as possible. That is what real self-determination is. It should allow as much decision making by the decentralized areas, and the central decisions that are taken should be minimized. But there we are limited by the Constitution.
Yes.
I mean, we have to respect the Constitution, and then, well, there's always the thought there of working towards more decentralization as far as possible.
Do you believe in a free market? Does your party believe in a free market?
Well, that's now where I think a lot of those decisions I should not be involved in. If, let's say, Federal Party of South Africa gets a lot of votes, and let's say hypothetically rules the country, then I shouldn't be involved in that. Everything that needs, that is in the Constitution. The Constitution say the transfer of goods between the regions must be respected. The one market must be respected. So those things yes, the constitution side, and then the different regions, they decide what they want to do. I shouldn't be involved in it.
Okay.
So it's kind of it's a nice job because you you don't have to do much. You should just or the head of the party should do as little as possible almost.
Mm. Yeah, that's sounds kind of cool.
Just get the people, just try to unite the people, get
Yes.
everybody together
Yeah.
in one party, let them all decide what they want, how they want to do things. And I think the role is basically primarily a peacemaking role. It's to keep peace among the different groups.
Mm. Oh, I like what I'm hearing. I do, and I think you know me, and I always say like we need to like be nice to one another, and we need to get along. All this race baiting stuff, and what the media is doing, and all this stuff is very worrying to me. And I know that deep down, South Africans just want to work hard, provide for their family, be able to do what they want to do, obviously within the laws, confines of the law. And I think the federal system could be a fair way of managing things. Obviously, the question, I think one of the biggest questions is, how do you determine borders? I mean, that's going to be a very difficult thing, to decide upon, because land at the moment is a very hot, well, not hot topic. I don't mean like it's always been a hot topic, but I mean it's a thing. It's constantly being spoken about. It's constantly being brought to the forefront. So how would you, is there a way that you guys would handle that? Because I'm sure that as you get more well known, people are going to ask you like, what's your position on the land?
If you look on a website,
Mm-hmm.
there is a map there, a language map.
Mm-hmm.
And South Africa is already in language areas. The provinces are language areas.
Mm-hmm.
It changed the 2011 census map. It's not exactly where the borders are, but I think the provinces are already language areas, and but then the federalism that I am interested in is more. I think there are more than one group in each language area. If I think about the Afrikaans people, for example, there are definitely more than one Afrikaans group, and I made an estimate. Let's say there's 3 groups in every language group, then that gives about 30, 30 regions. And then there's also the multicultural areas, the metropoles. They can be clearly seen on the map, the metropoles. So I don't think that's such a big problem. There could be a referendum and everybody could say, but this is their language, and then the addresses of all the voters can be put in a map, and then it's possible to see, like they did during the 2011 census, exactly where the different groups are, the different languages, and it has already been done.
We have a question here from Klipkop, who says, how would you balance property rights with meaningful redress?
I did a proposal on the website of Divided Party. My proposal at the moment is that the Reserve Bank makes money available. They can borrow. My proposal is to borrow money at 0 interest rate to the different provinces, and then they can do what they want to the money. They can buy the land or they can not buy the land. That's what I am suggesting at the moment, because I think the expropriation without compensation is going to be a big mess. I think it should not go ahead. I think it will be much better if all South Africans take a little bit of a knock in their rand, if the Reserve Bank can basically print a lot of rands and borrow it. There will be more rands in circulation, and the rand will depreciate. But I think the net effect will be better than just expropriating land without compensation. And I can't see any other way of doing it. It's only a proposal. I mean, it's up for discussion. And I've had some negative comments about it, but I haven't seen any other proposals. The only other proposal on the table is expropriation without compensation.
Well, I gotta say that I think some people in the comments are liking what you're saying. You know, the whole federal. There's a comment now from Eleutheria ZA who says federalization is the way to go. And for those of you watching who haven't subscribed to Eleutheria, please go subscribe. It's a great YouTube channel that's just started and deserves talking about interesting things about freedom of speech, freedom of this, all your rights. Get to know your rights. And fight for your rights. So please go subscribe to that channel. Federalization, I've been so caught up in secession, that and that's obviously breaking away from a country to become another country, right? With its own rules and its own govern and its own this and that. Federalization, do you think it's easier to obtain than secession?
Joe, I just want to go and get some water. My mouth is getting a bit dry. Would you mind? It will just be a minute or two, then I'll answer your question.
No worries, of course. I'll take over from here. All right, so I just want to say hi to the chats again, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take this moment to say hi to everyone again. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. He's coming right back. He's just getting water. And I will be I'll be on another stream, same channel, this channel, with 3 comedians. And we're going to be talking about cancel culture in comedy. So we're going to take a very broad, we're going to look at everything that's been happening at the moment. And if you guys have any questions for us as comedians, please tune in. It's going to be a very interesting discussion. And again, if you have any questions for Marquardt, please don't be afraid to ask. He's a very open dude. Let's see here. Chico says these talks of secession are in such a long term. The current generation have lower chances. Yeah, look, I think that's actually maybe another question I can ask Pinar just now. I think we all want change now. So let's see what Marquardt has to say. Just now. When is that? That will be, Yanni, that will be at 8:30 on this channel, 8:30 p.m. So pretty much almost after this interview. Welcome back, Marquardt. Are you okay?
Yes, thank you. Well, okay, that's one of the difficult questions. I don't want to make the secessionists angry because I want
No, make them angry. Make them angry. Come on.
I want them to join FPSA, and we are differing at the moment. That's very clear on Twitter. I do not agree with them. I don't think secession is possible. The only way I think it is possible is with war, basically. And I don't think that is a good idea. I think a war will be a terrible disaster in South Africa, because South Africa is very divided between the West and the East. It will be a proxy war, as it is at the moment in other places like Syria and Libya and those places. So I think, without going into much detail about why I think it is not possible, I don't think that's necessary. It's just I don't think it is possible, and and there's a lot of there are imperialists who make money from wars. It's business. It's business to them, and they will jump at an opportunity where they can divide a nation, and they can sell a lot of weapons, and they can cause a war. I mean that we all know that happens. So yes, I want them to. I hope they will. I think they are going to realize that it's not possible, and I hope they all decide to join FPSA, because that is the idea of FPSA, to unite all votes for self-determination in one party. They can. I mean, there's a lot of. There's actually in the Constitution, there is. There is a type of federalism written into the Constitution where the different provinces can each have their own monarch. They actually use the word monarch in the Constitution. So that there is possibility of that. And yes, I definitely think federalism is the best way. Your question about would it be easier than secession? If you look at time, I think it might take longer, because the secessionist movement can happen quicker, but I think patience is a good thing in politics. If politicians are impatient, it causes disasters, like we have seen in the past. So I am much more of a non-revolutionary person. I prefer slow, continual change. I don't like revolutions. But yeah, okay, well, we differ. People differ about that.
Yeah. Look, I don't. I would also obviously like to settle, whether it's secession or going the federal way. You know, I would prefer for whichever direction South Africa was to go in, for it to be peaceful as possible. Because wars are terrible. Like you said, not only do people look at it as a business, and some obviously the elites do, but I mean, people lose lives. It's turmoil. It's never good. I don't think that that's a good idea. And maybe because I'm not a violent person myself. So, like, I would agree with you. However, I would agree with you to do a peaceful, negotiations and stuff like that. However, I do feel that people are getting more and more impatient. You know what I mean? Like, people they kind of want to see change now. They don't want to see change later. And what would you say to those?
Yeah, I understand that, because that is how I felt as well 2 years ago. But then I realized the impossibility. I think it is just shows that it is not possible. The Constitution says very clearly in Section 1, South Africa is one sovereign democratic state. And the court case that I was involved representing federal party in Bloemfontein, they made it also very clear that they take that very serious. So I think it's, it is an imperialist view, I think, would be, let's just secede and let it happen as quickly as possible. Whereas the self-determination view, I think, is more in favor of a federal type of system. Because if you also decide to just secede, then that takes self-determination away from other people, because people in the north of the country, they want to be one country, and so their self-determination is being taken away. You basically decide for other people. If you just decide unilaterally, we are going to now secede. There was one comment that I saw on Twitter. where the person tweeted, Cape belongs to all South Africans and all South Africans enjoy the Cape.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your answer, your question again?
No. My question was, geez, I can't remember what the question was, but I know you answered it because I am agreeing with you that it is going to be, you know, now I remember it was people wanting to do or have results now, whether it's secession
Oh, yes.
or federal system. And I mean, I think I always say this to people, and they don't like it, but I say like vote, like this vote, vote for anyone besides ANC and EFF. Just vote. Like I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but at least if you don't vote for those two parties, we might see a big change in South Africa because that's what people want. I think at the moment is they want change. They want to see something different. They want to see something new. We just had that budget speech, which, yeah, now a lot of people are responding very well to that budget speech. I think people are just getting tired of the way things are going. But obviously, our country has been and probably will be quite divided because obviously there are people that they're just going with the flow. And that's neither here nor there. I do have a question from Pinar Van Fyke, who says or asks, "Do you believe the ANC would hand over the reins without war?" Well, if we were to vote for your party, I mean, they kind of have to let it go, don't they?
Yeah, I think they have to. Just coming back before I answer that, while you were talking about impatience and so on, I think people in South Africa should trust ideas more because ideas can have a big effect. I think I don't think it's impossible that the ANC can realize, whilst they are in power, that decentralization is not a bad idea. Maybe they can even decide to decentralize power more than they are doing at the moment.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's the power of ideas are, I think, underestimated. It is. I think politics already changed a lot in the last 2 years. The idea of self-determination and the idea of federalism is busy spreading.
It is.
And if we can get voters who used to vote for the ANC and the EFF and the DA for self-determination, it will spread. It will. I mean, there's ideas that can be used in municipalities. If divided or federal parties in the elections next year, an idea is to decentralize the finances in municipalities. I mean, that's a decentralization idea that can happen locally.
Yes.
So I think there are things that can be done to solve problems that we have at the moment.
I have another question here, which I'm gonna. I'll just give it to you. Explorer says, "Is there an appetite for this model among various groups of the country, enough to garner majority support?" So, I think another way of asking is, have you done any polls or research to see, how many people in the country would like a federal system?
At the moment, it's a struggle because federal party does not have a lot of funding. I don't have that type of information, and federal party doesn't have a record of members. I decided to not have a record of members. People can buy tokens, cryptocurrency, but their names are not registered because I think politics is a personal thing, and people don't necessarily want to be on a list of members. The only member list there is of executive members. But To be honest, is at the moment I'm struggling to get people to get involved and to get funding. It's really a problem. Um, but my logic tells me that we all want self-determination. And the only way to get self-determination is to respect other people's self-determination and to grant them self-determination and to decentralize governance. I cannot see how this one thing that we all share can happen with a central government,
Mm.
because it is impossible for a central governor to respect everybody in South Africa, because we are just too culturally different. It is, I can never, that's why I say if I would be president of South Africa, I would do as little as possible, because I know I can never consider the other cultures because I don't know the cultures. I mean, there's nobody I think who can do that.
Mm.
My answer is the only way that we can get what we want is to decentralize governance and to grant everybody self-determination.
Mm.
And before the Union of South Africa, South Africa was in different language areas, like most places are, Europe, Canada. Um, most most modern nations, or well, maybe not. You can't call them nations, but the European Union, they are in different language areas. In Switzerland, it works like that. They have multicultural areas as well. The multicultural people and the unicultural people are respected in their system. And we should just do that because, I mean, the imperialism causes disrespect. It is imperialism is a selfish system.
Yeah. Um, I agree with you. I guess I've never thought of it like that because I'm from the United States. So like for me, I'm thinking like, are we gonna now rename? Not that it's a bad thing, but are we gonna rename South Africa? Is it gonna be the South African States or United States, South African
Uh,
United States or something like that?
it's not allowed.
Is it not allowed? Okay. So it would still be called South Africa. It's just gonna have. You wouldn't really call them states. You'd maybe call
It,
them provinces. Still, just different.
it, all those words are in the Constitution. They talk about provinces in the Constitution, so it will stay provinces. Um, what will happen is, for example, the president decides on the cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
So the president can have the cabinet as small as possible. He doesn't have to appoint all the ministers. There's in the constitution there's a whole list of decisions that can be decentralized, things that cannot be decentralized. But a lot of the power is in the hands of the central government. The central government can decide how big they want to be,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously the policy of federal party is to do as little as possible centrally.
Mm. And okay, so let's go back to for some of us or for some of them viewers that may have not seen the beginning. You said something that I feel is very important to bring up again, which is the fact that you want to unify South Africa almost on another level. Which you broke it down. You said there's right and left. You want a party that combines them all, which for me personally, I'm struggling with because there's a massive divide between the right and the left. And I think to some extent people don't even know the correct divisions of, or definitions rather, of right and left. Some people say, well, the right can be defined as individuals and the left can be, what's it called? Collective. The right can be conservative and the left is liberal. The right can be racist and there's like this all different kinds of terms for what side you're on, and to combine and find a peaceful way to bring everyone together, I think, in my opinion, is going to be one of the toughest things you're going to have to overcome. And again, it's I think it's all in your messaging. But have you given any thought as to, yes, you're going to make different areas where people can do their own thing and they can live their own cultures and stuff like that, all under one umbrella, so to speak, and similar to the U.S. and federal system, everyone does their own thing, rely on themselves, self-governance, all that stuff. Great, but again,
Yes.
is that really going to solve the problem of the right and left debate?
The way that the Constitution was written is there was made provision for different houses. So every group can form their own house. They can be in their own house where they feel comfortable, where they can do their own thing, they can take their own decisions. They don't have to take decisions with other people. And the Constitution is only 5 pages long. It's I think it's 5 pages, which means it can develop. There's a lot of space for development. It isn't very rigid. It basically just says self-determination to all groups wanting it in different regions. And the idea is when people come together in the party is to let things develop. And with regards to that, I was thinking about the United Kingdom. They don't have a written constitution. And that's how I see developing in federal party. Um, the constitution just gives a framework, and from there it can develop, and lots of loose documents and decisions that are taken in the party. So yes, that's my answer. At the moment, there are houses for every language group. There's a House of Independence. So the idea is basically there must be a house for every person, where every person is welcome and where they feel comfortable. And if they don't like the houses that already exist, then they can form a new house.
Okay.
That is part of the plan. That's how to resolve that possible friction between the left and the right.
All right.
And then everybody vote together on the annual general meeting, but the houses keep people separate. And because I think one big problem with the current situation is in a union, everybody are thrown together into one group and they have to work together, but they don't like it. They don't agree necessarily. People, I think, who differ a lot, who fight, are more happy if they are separated into different houses.
Okay. I just hope that no one misunderstands your. There we go. Explorer saying this is brilliant in theory. I hope it comes to fruition. Exactly. I feel kind of the same way. Like it's great to have all the cultures kind of come together and they can celebrate themselves and live in harmony. It's like Europe, like you said, Italy is its own culture, France is its own culture, Portugal, Italy, and all these different, Germany, all these different countries, they're all their own culture. Even England's its own culture. But you can go from each, like you can drive 1 hour to the left, for example, and be in Spain, and then go a bit further and be in Portugal and experience all these different kinds of cultures and foods and parties. And it's a very nice idea. And I think South Africa could really bring something beautiful if you start thinking of it like that. Like all these different cultures that are in different sections of South Africa, and we go drive here, and oh my word, we can experience this and we can experience that. I worry very much about convincing people that that will be the solution that I feel the media has created this great divide amongst us, with all this race baiting and all this like they're very much, I feel, trying to divide South Africans. And like I said before, South Africans just want to work. South Africans just want to provide for their family. They want to live a good life. If they want to go to the movies, they want to go to the movies. They want to do whatever. So I hope that your party does get a little bit more airtime, a little bit more noticed. I think this idea of federalism is coming at a good time. We're talking about secession. What about federalism? And seeing as we're coming up to the end of our interview, I was wondering if you had any last words that you would like to say to our viewers.
I think, yes, in context of the problem that you just mentioned, federal party must now get a lot of leaders from every group. There must be leaders coming forward, join the party, people from every group, and then they start growing the party. My job at the moment is to get leaders from the whole South Africa and from all the different groups who are more interested in working together, but also separate. To have the right balance between unity and division in order to do fruitful work and to have enough freedom, independence for each group, but also the necessary unity to make the thing work. So that is, I am really inviting everybody to come together, especially leaders who can take it further and get people of their own groups. And it doesn't have to be only people of groups. There's also a house of independence. So anybody who feels they are not really part of a group, there is a house for them in federal party where they can do their own thing. And then I think another thing that can draw people to federal party is self-determination. There's not a lot of rules. They have to have this policy, they have to have that policy. They decide on their own policy. There's only two things that they have to agree to, and that is self-determination to all the groups wanting it. So they have to respect other people's self-determination, and they have to work on their own self-determination. So they make their own policy. And then the other thing is no war, because there is a war is I mean, it can happen in South Africa with the current situation. So that is one thing. A leader may not promote war. There's only the two things. It's self-determination for all and no promotion of war.
Well, Marquardt Pinar, it has been a pleasure to be chatting to you. I've learned a lot about federalism and your party, and I hope that people will share this video, like this video, let people know about this party that is brand new and looking for more people to get involved. So if you are someone who is looking for a party and you like what you hear, do get in contact with the Federal Party of SA. You can find them on Twitter. You can find them also at their website. There's a lot of information on their website. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off? Did we miss anything?
Just thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it a lot, and I think you are doing a lot for the democracy in South Africa, because the mainstream media doesn't give any coverage to federal party. I think it's actually very unfair, and that I am busy petitioning the president to hopefully do something about that. I think they should address the media to inform the public of new political ideas because that is an integral part of democracy. Is the voters should be informed of their options, and the next election is close. It's
Yeah.
next year,
Yeah.
but the voters don't know about federal party.
Yeah.
But thank you, yes, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Marquardt, you are most welcome. Thank you for also supporting my channel and supporting what I do. And I'll be sure to tell more people, hey, this is another option if you don't want secession or if you don't want ANC. If this is not, I'm not telling you to vote, but look at this party. You might like them, and that's what I'm basically trying to do as well, guys. I'm not again. I don't know. I don't even know which party I'm going to vote for yet. I'm still deciding, but I'm researching here. It was definitely a pleasure chatting to you, Marquardt, from the Federal Party of South Africa. Don't go anywhere just yet. I'll give you a proper goodbye once I sign off here. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this was Marquardt Pinar from the Federal Party of South Africa. Had a very interesting chat with him about his party, and yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm not gonna lie, I like it. We'll see. We'll see what happens at the voting polls. But please, guys, as you just heard, mainstream media is not giving much attention to them. So please share this video, like this video, tell people, hey, what do you think of this? And check out their website. I believe their website will be in the description below. If it's, I'm going to double check. If it's not, I'm going to put it on now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back here at 8:30 p.m. with 3 comedians, and we're going to be talking about cancel culture. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions and you want to get some comedians' perspective about that, please tune in at 8:30 on this channel. Until then, I will see you at the next one, and stay safe.